What's going on, Faded Culture? It's Sergio Barron, and we're back again with another haircut tutorial. Today, before we start, I'd like to quickly shout out our today's paid sponsors at American Crew, some of the best leading hair products in the industry today. In this video, I'll be showing y'all how I do a high skin fade with a comb-over on top. I will also show y'all how to utilize American Crew's brand new Prep and Prime tonic spray so we can better moisturize the hair. That way we have that much more control when doing our shear work. I'll also show y'all at the end how to style this haircut with American Crew's pomade. With that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial and let's jump right into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend, and tell all their friends. Alright guys, so before I start, I'm going to leave down in the description all the links to the products and the tools that I will be using in this tutorial. I'm going to start this haircut by using American Crew's Prep and Prime Tonic Hairspray so I can really moisturize the hair and get it ready for cutting. I really like the scent of this spray. It also prepares the hair for any cutting and styling and adds a light hold for texture and increased control and manageability. Plus, it provides heat protection when you do any kind of blow drying to it. For this haircut, I will be doing a short comb over. So for the comb overs, I like to leave it a little longer in the front and then kind of start shortening it as I go towards the back. So in the beginning, you'll see that I'll base 2 fingers, or I'll pull up 2 fingers of length of hair and I'll trim that. And as I pull back about 2 inches, you'll see that I start only using 1 finger from the scalp up to kind of keep it shorter in the back. But we're still gonna leave enough hair in the front so that it combs over to the right side. When cutting the hair starting from the front, working your way back, you always want to make sure that you're only pulling small sections at a time and not skipping back like more than an inch of length at a time. You want to keep them as close as possible, the sections that you pull, so that you maintain an even length throughout the top of the hair. Then once you're done cutting all along down the middle, you're going to want to start again from the front but on the left side of his head. And then you're just going to want to match up that length of hair to the middle section. And you're just going to repeat that process, going back a little bit at a time until you reach the back of his head. And again guys, that Prep and Prime hair tonic spray is really beneficial when doing any shear work, only because it tacks the hair together and it just results in pulling and cutting cleaner sections at a time. And now that you're done with one side, you're going to go ahead and repeat the exact same process on the opposite side. And again, just matching up that length of hair to the middle of his head. I will be setting in a hard part later on in the haircut, but for now I like to kind of comb the hair into place that it will be set before blow drying it in that position before we start coming in and doing our fading. For this haircut, I'm going to be using my 3 guideline setup. So I'm going to start by closing the lever on the clipper to set down my first guideline. I will lay down that line starting at the temple peak area of his forehead, and then I'm going to make sure it just wraps around his head in a straight manner until we meet on the other side but on the same spot. Make sure that you're only letting the clipper do the work and you're not kind of applying any deep pressure onto the skin. The softer you lay this guideline down, the easier it'll be to take out. Also, make sure that you lay down this line as clean as straight as possible, since this line will be probably the most important one, since the rest of them will run parallel according to this one. For the next guideline, I'm gonna open the lever on my clipper and then we're gonna lay it down, coming up about a ½ inch higher than the previous one. And again, just kind of ensuring that you're laying it down as soft as possible, but at the same time making sure that it runs parallel to the previous guideline. And then we'll just continue this process until we reach the opposite side of his head. Also guys, keep in mind that I will leave all these steps down in the description for y'all so y'all can reference off them. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and throw on the number 1 guard, still leaving that lever all the way open, and we're gonna lay down our next guideline. And like before, we're gonna make sure that we come up about another ½ inch higher than the previous one. And like before as well, we're gonna just make sure that it runs parallel to the previous 2. Also guys, throughout the whole process of setting in guidelines and blending them out, you always want to be brushing away or combing away any loose hair that you're cutting throughout the process so that it don't get in your way and you can better see these guidelines that you're setting in or blending out. And next we're going to go ahead and throw on the number 2 guard with that lever open to set in our next guideline. And for this one, since we're right here about at the parietal ridge area or the round part of his head, make sure that you kind of scoop the clipper out and you're not digging it too much into the top length of his hair. So just kind of keep that in mind that as you're setting it in, you're gonna kind of pull out the guard so that we don't take too much length off the top. And now for the next step, I'm gonna go ahead to take out this bulk right here. I'm gonna start with this 3 guard lever open, and I'm gonna start trying to connect the side length to the top of the length. So you're gonna do it in a manner, or like in a vertical manner, I should say, so that you're not digging too much into the top length. And we're just gonna repeat this process until we get to the opposite side of his head as well. And again, just make sure that you're combing the hair down so that you don't miss out on cutting any length that needs to be cut. And for whatever is left, I'm gonna go ahead and throw on the number 4 guard and finish connecting the side to the top. And again guys, as you're reaching that top length, make sure you kind of lift the clipper off the scalp as if you're freehanding the motion and sculpting the side length to the top. Anything after this, if needed, you would use clipper over comb or shear over comb. But so yeah, just keep that in mind, because for this haircut I didn't need to. The 4.5 was sufficient. So next, as you see here, we're left with our 3 guidelines. We're gonna start by blending them out one by one, starting with the uppermost guideline you see here. For this one, I'm gonna use the 1.5 clip on the clipper, and I'm gonna go ahead and close that lever onto the 3rd quarter position. And then I'm gonna just start from one side of his head using the corners of the clipper, and I'm gonna kind of just use the clipper in a detailed manner so that we can blend it out a piece at a time until we completely blend it out throughout the whole head. And I always start with the clipper on that 3rd quarter position, but if you feel you need to open or close the lever a tad bit more here and there to finish blending out that guideline, then go ahead and do so. But for me, that 3/4 position seems to always be a good starting point when starting to attack and blend out these guidelines. So as you see here, just continue following that guideline and try not to get lost as you're blending them out. And now we're going to continue moving down to the next guideline you see right here. For this one, it's going to take 2 guards, still keeping it at that 3rd quarter position. First, I'm going to throw on the half clip to start attacking the beginning part of this middle guideline. And then whatever it don't take out, we'll come back in a little bit and finish taking it out with the 1 guard, still at that 3rd quarter position with the lever. And remember guys, we're only using the corners of the clipper so that we can blend out this guideline in a more detailed manner. And also just keep in mind that you're only blending out the initial start of the guideline and not going up higher and higher chasing the bulk, because that will result in taking the fade up too high. So now that that got most of it out, like I said, I'm gonna throw on the 1 guard with that lever on that 3rd quarter position and continue blending out the rest of that middle guideline. And next we'll be left with our last guideline. For this one, it's going to take 3 lever positions, first starting with the lever closed, then halfway, and then all the way. I'm going to break down this step into 3 sections, so I'm going to work on just the right side of his head first. And you'll see that I start with the clipper lever closed all the way, and I'm going to start blending the initial start of this guideline just a little bit at a time and try not to go too high. Just focus on blending out just the initial start of that guideline. Then once most of it is out, then I'm gonna open the lever halfway and then just continue blending a tad bit higher than the previous. And now last, I'm gonna just open that lever all the way and then just continue on fading out the rest of that guideline completely. And now once you're done with this side of his head, you're gonna wanna go ahead and repeat the exact same process on the back side. Again, starting with that lever closed all the way, take most of it out, and then you'll go ahead and open the lever halfway, continue blending a tad bit higher, and then you'll just proceed with opening the lever all the way just to finish blending out that line all the way. I had one person ask why I always leave the bottom of the hair to the end to be taken out, and honestly, it's really no reason, it's just habit. In my opinion, I just like to attack the most tedious part of the haircut, and for me that would be the actual fade. So I like to just kind of lay down the fade and then just proceed with lining up and taking out the rest of the bottom of the hair. And then once you're done with this step, you're going to want to kind of take a step back, get a broad view of the fade, and determine if you need any touch-up work. For me, I felt like I needed to come back in with that half guard, with that lever open to that 3/4 position again, and kind of just looked for any dark areas in the fade or any inconsistencies that kind of disrupted the blend. And just kind of came in again in that detailed manner using the corners of the clipper and just kind of blended out those dark spots until we got the smooth fade. And now moving forward to take out the bottom of the hair, first you see that I use my trimmers in this upside down manner since it leaves it more bald this way. And then whatever little faint line that it creates, I'm gonna just flip the clipper back into its upright position and just blended it right out. And I'm gonna repeat this process until we get to the opposite side of his head. I do it this way because since it does leave that border guideline under, when I go ahead and come back in and take out the rest of the bottom of the hair, you'll see that it's gonna kind of leave a little faint line, and that's just gonna serve as another guideline to kind of show us how high to come up with our electric shavers. So it will just serve as a little safety net so that we don't take the shavers too high into the fade. So like I said, we're just gonna use our electric shaver to take out the rest of the bottom hair down to the skin. And like I said, as you reach that little faint line that we left behind, you're gonna kind of release pressure on the electric shaver, kind of using them as they were a pair of clippers, and you're kind of just fading it right out. And just in case, say you do create any little faint lines with the electric shaver, you can always just come back in with your trimmers and blend them right out. And now moving forward to the lineup box in the front, I like to always set in my horizontal middle line first down the middle, and then I'll just go ahead and set in a vertical bar on the side of his head, and then I'll just make sure that it meets that middle horizontal line that we laid down in the beginning. And then we'll proceed by doing the exact same thing on the opposite side. So just take your time and make sure you get it down as straight and even as possible. And next, I'm gonna go ahead and spray a little bit more of that hair prep and prime tonic spray so that we can set in our hard part. That prep and prime tonic spray, like I said, has that little tacky hold to it so that it just kind of keeps the hair in place and it's not moving around when you're setting in your hard part. And last, anything that I use with my trimmers, I'm gonna go ahead and come back in with my straight razor and shave it out. I like to go ahead and shave the hard part as well so that it lasts longer, and it just gives it a much cleaner look when it's actually shaved with a straight razor. And on the forehead area, I'm gonna apply some sort of lubrication, like some shaving gel, and then I'm gonna just proceed with shaving all of the hair down first, and then I'll line up against the vertical bars, and then last just shave against the grain so that we get as close as possible to the skin, resulting in a longer shave. Make sure that you're always pulling with your opposite hand on the skin so they create that tension and it helps that blade slide a little more with ease. Next, after this, I'm gonna just go ahead and use my hand comb and blow dry the hair into the position that I want it to lay. And remember guys, the way your hair dries is the way your hair is gonna stay for the most part. So you always wanna blow dry it into the style that you want, and then you proceed with styling it. Then I'm gonna also apply a little bit of enhancements just to pop his edge up out a little more, and then following that up with American Cruise pomade. I love this pomade since it works really well with this classic hairstyle. It gives any kind of hair type a slick look with a medium hold and a very high shine. If y'all like this product, feel free to check it out, as I will leave it down in the description for y'all. Once the product is in, I will go ahead and use my comb to really lay down the hair in a really nice, sleek, uniform style. But for the most part, guys, this is pretty much it. Again, here's the before haircut, and here's the after. I hope y'all guys really enjoyed this haircut tutorial on a skin ball fade with a comb over on top using American Cruise products. If y'all really like this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure y'all leave me y'all's opinions down in the comments section. Again, guys, my name is Sergio Barron, this is Faded Culture, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.